Are you ready for a death metal journey with me talking about one of the most legendary bands of the death metal genre? Because today I'm going to be talking about Autopsy's new album, Ashes, Organs, Blood and Crypts. This is totally against my will, but the forces of evil are simply too strong. So on this video I'm going to be talking about how this album is for someone who didn't really want to review it. How does it sound? How's the production? How is the individual members of the band performing? What are the highlight songs of this album for me? And is this band adding anything new with this new release? And I will give my verdict and rating on the album. At the end, I will also, as a bonus, drop two lesser known death metal bands that I kind of used to clean my palette while I was listening to Autopsy on repeat for the past 2 days. So why am I here reviewing an album that I didn't intentionally want to review? Well, I made the mistake of asking the crowd, you, the subscribers, which album out of those three I should review this weekend, and the verdict is in. Even if I tried to manipulate my girlfriend to vote Doro, because I wanted to review Doro. So the album came out on Friday, 27th of October. It's the 9th full studio album, which is not a lot considering that the band kind of been around since 87, but they took a long break from 96 to 2009, 10 or something like that. And I mean, obviously this band is one of the kind of pioneers of the genre alongside, you know, bands like Possessed, Death, Obituary, Morbid Angel. And those two albums that they came out with in the beginning in 88 or 89, I think, Severed Survival and Mental Funeral in 91 are kind of landmark albums in the genre. So I was never really into this band. I was more of a Death fan where I felt that I got something a little bit more clean, or an Obituary fan where I felt that I got something a little bit more groovy. So this band kind of fell somewhere in between for me. But I mean, I know the band, but I was never like a huge fan. The cover and the basics. So it's 11 songs, just over 41 minutes. On the front, you have this zombie creature eating some unlucky guy's intestines while holding someone else's guy's head on a spear. That's probably going to be his dessert or something. It kind of really fits well in with the themes of the album. It's like death, gore, doom, you know, throat saw and stuff like that. So with your votes in, I took it to work. I listened in the car on the way to the park. I listened in the park with my living alarm clock. And I listened in the Money Factory and also tried some little bit more romantic vibes with the album. And after the first listen, I was like, what the fuck did I get myself into? I felt like I was eating a shit sandwich. I liked the intros and the outros, but I didn't really like the stuff that came between. I felt it was a bit too compressed somehow and lacking some bass bottom somehow. And yeah, but obviously that's a matter of taste. And I know that a lot of bands in that genre have kind of done that. They have very compressed sound. But then it kind of grew on me after a few listens. And also I felt a difference on the devices that I listened to versus headphones versus car audio and then the Sonos in the Money Factory. And the album kicks off with a song called Rabbit Funeral. And I think for me that song is kind of straight out of the playbook. It's like a taster almost for the album somehow. It has it all, like fast, slow, gory, doomy, and I really love the outro on this song. It's really, really cool. Rabbit Funeral. The next song is called Throat Saw, and that kind of gave me a Cannibal Corpse vibe somehow. It's kind of like 2.5 minutes of just a merciless drive, super cool guitars, and after like 1 minute that breaks into a very interesting kind of lead guitar stuff. And yeah, it gave me this, I don't know, Cannibal Corpse vibe. And you can check my review of the latest Cannibal Corpse album up here. So before I dive into the highlight songs of the album for me, I want to talk a little bit about how the band is. So the guitars on this album are very interesting. These guys, Danny Corrales and Eric Cutler, they kind of swim somewhere between some super uncomfortable Slayer-esque solos like on Throat Saw and then some very kind of angst-filled melodies like in Marrow Friend and the last song on the album, Coagulation. What I also notice is the bass. It's super cool. This guy, Greg Wilkinson, it's his second album with the band, and he somehow finds space in between all this madness and these massive guitars, and it makes it really stand out, and he adds some dimension to the album. I really like that. The album is kind of filled with tempo changes and kind of drifts between very fast-paced, gory death metal, crusty, thrashy, punky parts and some doomy breakdowns. And Chris Reifert on the drums, he kind of leads that without ever taking over, I feel. Like, you know, and there is no one instrument on this album that kind of dominates or anything like that. On the singing, I really like it that Chris and Eric Cutler, they both sing, and that adds a very kind of depth, let's say, to the songs. The highlight songs, guys. The title song, Ashes, Organs, Blood and Crypts, has a really cool intro with where the kind of lead guitars and the bass, they follow the same melody somehow, and then there's a breakdown before it goes kind of into, or rips you into like a super fast part. And then the last 45 seconds of this song is a really cool outro to kind of calm you down after having been in the tumble dryer. Another song that I really like is a song called Bone to the Wolves. It's a very kind of doomy, raw song. Reminds me a little bit of Dark Throne. I know it's silly to say that because probably the other way around, that Dark Throne took influence from Autopsy than the other way around. But it gives me that vibe. It's almost like they're singing from the basement. It's super raw somehow. Another song that I like is Toxic Death Fuck. Yeah. It's a kind of punky, crusty, punkish, feely. I don't know. The bass there is really cool. Hits the high registry and makes it kind of more wide somehow. A very interesting song. Kind of stands a little bit out on the album, I feel. And the last song, Coagulation, it has amazing guitar solo after like a minute and a half with a chugging rhythm under it, and gives me this kind of Black Sabbath feel. And it's a very cool way to end the album. So is Autopsy adding anything new with this album? The answer to that is no, not really. I mean, and they don't have to. They kind of invented this stuff, so they're just delivering on what they have done before, you know, like, and when I was listening to some of the older stuff again, I felt that, okay, the band is better, the production is better, the sound is better, and but it's not overproduced or anything like that. So they preserve the rawness, but it sounds better than it did in the past. So my verdict is, the pros of this album is that it's diverse in styles. It has, you know, doom, gory, death, punky, and there are elements of things like Black Sabbath, Slayer, Cannibal Corpse, and stuff that I really like. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. The bass is really cool and gives something extra on this album. The fact these two guys are singing adds a lot of diversity and kind of prevents the album or songs from becoming kind of monotonic somehow. And then there's always something going on this album. It kind of keeps your attention the whole time with the tempo changes and all that stuff. And the guitar playing is kind of like a box of chocolate. You don't know if you're gonna get pain or pleasure when these guys start doing their solos and stuff like that. It has almost like a live feel, you know, like I get the feeling that these guys were almost playing this all live in the studio at the same time. It has this feeling somehow, which is really cool. The cons of the album, there's nothing really groundbreaking here, but that's not necessarily needed, but it's still, you know, I don't think that it's anything new that they're necessarily bringing to the table here. And I sometimes felt on some of the songs that it's missing a little bit of a bottom, but that's just, as I said, a matter of taste. And maybe that's even the intention. So I'm gonna give this album 8 out of 10. I think fans will like this album a lot because it's kind of fits right into what has come before. But I'm not sure that this will kind of generate a lot of new fans. But I'm curious to hear, what do you think? And I'll be very happy if you like this video and subscribe to the channel. While listening to Autopsy on repeat, I needed to clean the palette in between just to get a little fresh ears on Autopsy when I put them back on. So I went into my weekly playlist. You can find that in the first comment to this video. And I found a band from Canada called Warpit. They have a new EP out called Call of the Void, sorry. And that's their second release. That's an interesting band, death metal band from Canada. And the other one up here, As in Hell, Danish, German death metal band with Mikael Poulsen from Volbeat. So you can check out my review on that. I'll see you in that video.